One. So tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about narcissism and retaliation. I thought about this one last night. I am immersing myself in positivity today and high vibration and sunshine, but I did want to dip in and talk about narcissism and retaliation. Me personally, I think anytime you're around a person who, let's just say that you disagree with them, their opinion, you will not be controlled by them. You call them out for bad behavior, or worse yet, for a narcissist, you call them out in front of a lot of people or in public. They really don't like that. And so they are going to get back at you in some way. Depending on the intellect of the narcissist, will depend on what kind of retaliation it is. Me personally, I think media is full of this kind of thing, as far as, let's say, really, I'm always picking on the wealthy, but let's just say some of these really high up, elite, famous celebrity type CEOs that like to retaliate against their so-called enemy, or retaliate against a secret lover or whatever that is. I mean, hence all the headlines that you see. We see retaliation everywhere. And honestly, if I've thought deep about it, I wonder if retaliation could almost be considered similar to like a blocking tactic. Like trying to negate and stop something you are doing towards them, or towards them, about them, or regarding them in some way. So hold on. So here is retaliate definition in Merriam-Webster dictionary. To return like for like, especially to get revenge. I think in some ways there are actions that are similar to retaliation that are done while you're talking to the narcissist, while you're arguing with the narcissist, or if they anticipate something you're going to do. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be something that's equal to it. So I know it's so cheesy and so cliche, but I think it was Gandhi, and who knows, he could have been not the first one to say it, but the old, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. Retaliation, I don't even remember how this word came to me, but retaliation is everywhere. And I talk a lot about the work world. I'm not in the work world anymore, but there's always retaliation in the work world. And I think, in my experience, the more structured a workplace was, and sometimes structure is good, but when structure is taken to the nth degree and it's like micromanaging every single thing you do, I think in an environment like that, you're going to see more retaliation. If you don't fall in line and obey and bow down to your knees, you will be retaliated against. So anyways, I'm bouncing all over the place, but retaliation is in the media everywhere. I believe the courts are filled with narcissists retaliating against ex-wives, ex-husbands, former co-workers, former employees. There are certainly a lot of retaliations that go on with police officers if they get caught, and if there's not a consensus of police officers doing it, they will get in trouble for doing that. Retaliating against someone who comes in, maybe makes a complaint on them, or retaliating against someone who outed them for cheating on their wife, or whatever it is. It's really to me, the aim of the game is, I will control you, and you will do as I say. If you do not do as I say, there will be consequences. There will be consequences. Like, you might lose your job if you don't do a certain thing. You might... There's the punishment. There's the punishment. And the narcissist is going to be the person to dish out the punishment. Because they're up here and you're down there. They're up here, you're down here. Personally, I think these hierarchical systems are all built on subjugation, objectification. That's my personal opinion. I think a lot of times, if you just don't go along with the show, or if you don't go along with the plan, there's automatic retaliation. They're going to let you know you have to. You have to do as they're saying, or the things that they are implying you do, or else there's a price. I mean, really, I'm just thinking about the whole situation with Relatable Reese and her ex-husband and the... Oh, what do they call it again? The Jesters. That whole thing, that all that's going on with her, it's all retaliation. It's really, I mean, it's revenge. It's shocking the dog when the dog doesn't do what you want that dog to do, which I'm obviously very much against. I don't go for that. Really, retaliation, I'll bet a lot of lawyers, good lawyers, could talk about retaliation in the court systems. Like how laws are put into place, how you have amendments to the laws, the eye of the beholder and whom is going to actually adhere to the laws, who is going to do their duties and enforce the laws as they were supposed to be enforced. And truly manipulative people will find ways to use that system through laws, through amendments, stipulations, child visitations, to retaliate. There are a lot of people in graves because of retaliation. I mean, really, there's a wide spectrum of retaliation. I mean, I know I use these examples a lot, but I think about when I was in grade school back in the old days, the old days. You had a child running around because they wanted to play and they had a lot of energy. And the teacher would get, sometimes, depending on what teacher it was, might get really mad with the student and force them to sit down when they had all this energy and they didn't want to sit down. The retaliation might be you have to sit and stare at the wall, or you've got to sit in the corner. I don't know if they still do that, but that was a punishment back then. Hold on, I'm going to look up something else. I'll be right back. So I looked up revenge on Merriam-Webster. Let's see. Revenge oneself on. Idiom. To do something to hurt someone who has hurt me, a loved one, etc. She vowed to revenge herself on her father's killer. Hold on, this is not exactly what I was looking for. Well, how about that? I actually found the word. Yep, retaliation is definitely connected, similar to revenge. Revenge is a noun, as in retaliation, the act or an instance of responding to an injury with an injury, eye for an eye. Both sides were determined to get revenge for perceived wrongs and showed little interest in ending the feud. So I'm thinking with the narcissist retaliation, it's all about dominance, it's about power, it's about control. There's a lot of retaliation that happens in fraternities. I'm just saying really in general terms. You've got the fraternities in the colleges that do all kinds of crazy, like, humiliation rituals, and there's a lot of retaliation going on in those types of groups because it's all about conformity, and especially if the person's younger, there's a lot more pressure. But retaliation is everywhere. In fact, I'm going to look up workplace retaliation. Let's see what I find. Okay, just for fun. I looked up workplace retaliation, and then this came up, U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. In my personal opinion, it's been my experience, none of these agencies do anything to help anybody. That's been my experience. It's all like smoke and mirrors in a way. Retaliation considerations for federal agency managers. Retaliation is the most frequently alleged basis of discrimination. Really, you guys? I don't know. In the federal sector, and the most common discrimination finding in federal sector cases. The EEO law prohibit punishing job applicants or employees for asserting their rights to be free from employment discrimination, including harassment. You guys really, I wish you all could talk to me right now. Do you all really think that this does anything? Come on. Come on. Isn't it now like the at-will employment, which in most places, which basically means they can fire you, put your stuff in a box, and you're out the door. No questions. You don't get asked questions or anything. But you're supposed to give them a 2-week notice. Okay, I'm not really so much interested in all this protected activity stuff right now. But, I'm going to list what they have here. Filing or being a witness in an EEO charge, complaint, investigation, or lawsuit. You know how many times I've been discriminated against because I was a female in a veteran employment environment, agency? You guys really? How far do you think that's going to go? Come on now. Come on now. It's the rape culture. Communicating with a supervisor or manager about employment discrimination, including harassment. Answering questions during an employer investigation. Refusing to follow orders that would result in discrimination. Okay, this is from Artificial Intelligence on Google. Narcissists may retaliate against people they feel wronged by to punish them and regain control. It's always about control, domination. Retaliation, and I'm thinking to myself, can being threatened to be fired from your job from not doing a certain medical procedure sounds like retaliation to me. That's just one, that's just one example. Retaliation can take many forms, including damaging a victim's privacy. Oh, there's Scientology. Reputation, smear campaign, work, or future relationships. For example, a narcissist may threaten to release intimate photos of a former partner on social media to their family or to their former employer. Blackmail 101. I was just thinking about, I wish I could remember the name of this movie. There was this movie about how basically you had one of these top investors, like the stock and bonds type investors on Wall Street. He found out that one of the markets was basically completely rigged, just like dominoes. And he felt, I wish I could remember the name of this movie. He felt guilt about what was going on because everyone was being played just like a chess piece. And a lot of people are going to lose a lot of money because everything was rigged. And then the people that he worked with, they all knew, and they were trying to save their own skins, and they retaliated against him. He was like, I guess you would call him a whistleblower. He was trying to be a whistleblower, and in the end, like, nothing really came of it. We know what kind of world we're living in. But it was a really good movie. It was a very famous movie. I'll probably think of it later. But retaliation, it's really, you guys know I like to talk about like how things are built into the systems. Retaliation is built into workplaces. I'm going to do a little search and see if I find more. I'll be right back. Okay, guys, so I find this interesting. This comes from the Artificial Intelligence. At-will employment is a legal arrangement in the United States. Of course it's the United States, right? Because you guys know who's in charge here. That allows employers to fire employees at any time for any reason. How's that for retaliation? As long as the reason is not illegal. I mean, seriously, like, do you think there's any chance that you're going to prove anything to anybody? Keep it real. It might have been that you didn't do a sexual favor for the boss. It doesn't matter. You're not going to prove anything. The truth is, even if you have it on video, even if you have like an audio recording, it probably won't do anything. Because nobody's going to... You see what's going on at Scientology, right? I mean, come on. It also allows employees to quit their jobs at any time. I mean, like, seriously, why would you need anything like this put in place? Well, we know why, but if you just pretend, everybody, when you go to a job, you know you can quit anytime. The employer knows they can fire you at any time. Just another piece of crap policy put in place to screw the worker and protect the employer. And don't get me wrong, there are a lot of really good employers out there. I don't want to like always be against, big business and employers. It also allows employees to quit their jobs at any time. I mean, like, listen to that. That's ignorant. Like, why would you need a policy to tell you that, right? At-will employment is usually included in employment contracts. See, that's another thing, signing those contracts. I'm really going down a rabbit hole today, I guess. So wrongful termination occurs when an employer fires an employee for an illegal reason, such as violating an employment contract or public policy. You see? That's why you have to learn the policies. Okay, this is definitely going to be interesting. This is cool. I never heard of a virtual library before. This is from Office of Justice. Police civil liability and the First Amendment retaliation against citizens who criticize and challenge the police. I mean, could it be more specific to what's going on with Scientology right now and the child advocates? Crime and Delinquency, Volume 42, Issue 1, dated January 1996. Published 1996. Oh, this is an article. I'm going to just read a little bit because this is interesting to me. This all goes along with the narcissism. You're not going to tell them what to do. This article explores the civil liability of police officers who retaliate against citizens exercising their First Amendment rights. Be interesting to see how many cases are on this one. The right to free expression and law enforcement's desire to control dissent. You guys know who writes these, right? If you go all the way to the top of the food chain, where they look at just everyday people as little work ants, you know. Control dissent. In challenges to authority, pose vexing problems for police officials. By combining police-sanctioned concepts, citizen demeanor, literature, and case law on civil liability, the author shows how police officers increase liability risks by arresting or otherwise retaliating against vocal critics. Like how that police officer arrested Danny unlawfully just for saying, Danny saying that he was going to report him to internal affairs. Uncooperative suspects and citizens with an attitude problem. Oh. After identifying the retaliation standard articulated by the U.S. Supreme Court in Mount Healthy City School, District Board of Education versus Doyle, 1977, the author examines lower cases pursuant to Mount Healthy three-pronged test. 1, whether plaintiff conduct is protected by the First Amendment. That's why they're trying to get other false charges to stick. And they're attempting to get the child advocates to commit felonies or frame them to get felonies. 2, whether plaintiffs protected First Amendment activity is a substantial or motivating factor in police officer conduct. And 3, it's amazing how many police officers don't even understand what it is. Whether a police officer would respond the same in the absence of the protected First Amendment activity. He concludes that police officers need more training in anger management and interpersonal communication to avoid liability for violating the First Amendment rights of citizens to verbally confront and challenge the police. But also, too, how many cops are going to be covering for each other, you know? Anyways, I was looking up narcissism and retaliation, and there was so much on it. I'm like, I'm not going to be sharing that stuff. One was talking about the vindictive narcissist. I'm laughing to myself. I'm like, aren't they all vindictive? And AI Rita said that narcissistic rage is a factor in the retaliation, and narcissistic injury, of course. I talk about that a lot. But I would actually like to look more into this and look to see and show examples of what I feel like was retaliation. But let's just be honest. The people that are gone after in retaliation are either the person with less money, the person that's being abused. They're just an ordinary citizen, maybe of lesser means, or just, ordinary Joe. Whereas you might have a police officer, or a judge, or someone who has superficial power in our system that is, what I'm trying to say here is we ain't proving nothing. You guys see what I mean? Like, because you're in so many ways. It's like that old idea of you're going to fight the system. You ain't going to fight nothing. I mean, it's a beast system. But I feel like you can make little small changes in your own scope and in your own little environment and world. And if I change, I mean, like, I don't even think that William Good, you know, the Streets LA, he's making huge changes. But I mean, look at him as an example. But I think so many lawsuits are retaliation. How many environmental disasters have we had from really, really large, prestigious, multi-billion-dollar corporations that damage the environment profusely? People died from, maybe contamination from radiation or contaminants in the food, contaminants in the ground. And when you see any kind of lawsuit that an everyday person tried to sue them, sometimes they have plenty of proof and they have plenty of lawyers to back them up, yet they still get a very settled case, and they don't get what's due to them or their families or the other people that were hurt. But anyways, it's just, we are absolutely swimming in retaliation. Retaliation is everywhere. So I don't know. I mean, this video just went all over the board, but I just think retaliation and narcissism go hand in hand, and we see it everywhere. It's just good to kind of understand what's going on and just know it's like, you have to put something in the wheel to kind of make it go slower. You know what I mean? In the machine. You're not going to stop the machine. You're not going to build a new machine. But you can kind of make it not run as well, you know? So, anyways, I hope this is interesting to you guys. Have an amazing night or day wherever you are. And that's it. Peace.